Okay, calculator buttons. So if you are new to your graphing calculator, here are a bunch of buttons that we're going to be using regularly. Bottom left, on. Bottom left, on. Second is top left. It's in blue. And if you want to access any of the blue features, like above bottom left is off, if you want to turn it off, you just have to press blue, second, off. So that's the bottom left-hand corner and the top left-hand corner in blue below the top section, which is all graphing, which we're going to get to in a second. The bottom right-hand corner is enter. And the top right-hand corner below the up and down is clear. We're going to use those corners the most. Now, in the top right-hand corner, again, below those big 5 at the top, we have the arrows. We're going to be using those arrows all the time. And to the left of the arrow is delete. Circle delete. And for example, if you want to insert, you have to do blue, second insert. So that's useful, second insert. And then the button that we just learned off to the left, enter, sometimes it's good to press that. Excuse me, I drew it not perfectly, it was close. Enter, if you want to press second enter, you get entry, and then accesses lines above. So for example, if you have an older one, or whichever, and your arrow up doesn't go up as well, or doesn't go up, for example, like the TI-83s, that's going to be a big problem for you in the future. That's why the TI-84s with the new software is way better. And especially if you're going to be taking pre-calculus 12 and calculus 12, it's almost a necessity because you're almost coding the thing in a test when you can literally be touching a bitmap screen. So that's second entry. And then a little bit to the left of that was second answer. So that's blue again, top left, second, that we keep talking about. The blue button, I'll put a blue arrow to it, top left. And then the bottom right is enter, and a little bit below that is second answer. That second answer just accesses something above, again, if you can't do your arrows. I'm being nice to the TI-83s, TI-84s, bear with me. There's no more of that. Okay, so if you ever want to get home on the iPhone or Samsung or whichever, Google Pixel, I'm not sure, second quit. So that's top left, blue, and directly beside it, mode, quit. But notice I'm going to read it as second quit because it's blue, so I'm going to read the blue. Second quit, directly below it. They're the closest to it because these things are slow. They're not that expensive. Sure, they're expensive at the retail store, but they actually have a monopoly over the calculator and all the school systems, so they jack up the price. But you have to get this one because all the teachers teach to it, and you just don't want to confuse yourself with the other ones. So always a TI-83 if you can get it from an older brother or sister or whichever, or for cheap, or a TI-84 if you can afford it or you can find one. So second quit, that's going to be all the time. Now I'm going to put a box around the whole next section. Excuse me, I forgot part of it. A rectangle around the whole next section. So graphing along the top, graphing. Y equals, top left. Press Y equals, type in 2x plus 5. X is to the right of the green button below the blue button, all your variables. Graph, top right. Trace, move along the graph and use your arrows. Or window and zoom buttons at the top. Play around with your window. Rarely zoom, but zoom 6 is awesome. It gets you a nice 10 by 10 window. So before I press graph, all the time I'll just press zoom 6. Get you to a nice 10 by 10 window. Zoom trig is okay for later. So if you want, back to the left in red, if you want a table of values, you have to press second, the blue button. Table, which is the graph button, which is the graph button, but it's in blue above, so second accesses the table. Then you can just quickly see your table. Oh my, makes it so much easier. Be careful with changing table attributes. Don't do it. Or take it to your teacher and press second, like find out how to reset it. I'm going to teach you possibly how to do that down below. So this is a method, this is a sheet that I kind of add to, so I'm a little bit off to the right. So the fourth root is math root. So math is below the green button. We're going to be pressing math all the time. And you can get X root, like fourth root or fifth root or X root or whichever. Make sure you practice with the calculator before the test. Try things that you know and make sure that they work. So big red, this section down below is all calculate. So if you want to calculate x-intercepts or values or vertexes or intersects, we always do second calc. Second, blue button, top right, trace or calc in blue, second calc. If you want to find a y value, we just go for y value or click 1 and put in the x value and it gives you the y value. Or find an x value by going back into y equals, typing a new y equals into the new equation down below, or only the y value, and then doing second calc intersection 5, enter, 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 and it gives you the intersection of two graphs. These buttons are further explained in the quadratics chapter. Then finding x-intercepts further off to the right. Let's go for big blue. Sure, you can do the left-bound, right-bound thing, but why not just say y equals 0 and find the intersections? Okay, one more thing, big yellow down below. Make sure that you know when you're using your calculator, a standard method is brackets around the top, brackets around the bottom, then type it into the calculator. Or brackets around the top, do it, or just do the top, do the bottom separately, and then do a final division. And these are just all my notes down below that I'm just working on. Excuse me, this is a project. And one thing to watch out for. When your teacher's walking around, they can delete your programs. So if you went to my chapter 4, and whichever chapter, quadratics, and you programmed, it is chapter 4, and you programmed quad form, they can press the following buttons. Second, blue. The plus sign, plus. 7, which says reset. I'm not going to press it. Then it says OK, enter, and it clears everything. And it turns your calculator back into radians. So make sure that you know how to go back into degrees after that. They might be kind and do it for you if it's a trig test. Okay, so those are our calculator instructions, more advanced calculator instructions, again, as we mentioned, later in chapter 4. Be careful with your calculator. Make sure you're really good with it. Don't use your phone. You might not be allowed it on the test because you're allowed to use Google. You want to make sure that you're good with the functions and you know the idiosyncrasies between different calculators. Great.